Remember these beautiful fillets? At the same time we baked the orange bake, we prepared 2 of these fillets for smoking. The ingredients, of course, this is for the brine. You soak the fish in a brine marinade for approximately 4 hours. Consists of garlic powder, brown sugar, the garlic powder again, Louisiana hot sauce, soy sauce. Don't use the salt free in this recipe. The salt will give it plenty of flavor. And optional is white wine. This makes an excellent marinade to soak the salmon. If you desire to use salt for preservative, use the plain salt. That's the salt without iodine. Vacuum pack all our smoked fish, so I don't need any preservative. To mix, merely dump everything in the bowl and mix with the wire whip. Really not much of a procedure here. This is for approximately 8-pound recipe, 8 to 10 pounds. I use a half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of wine, takes quite a bit of soy sauce. I generally use 1.5 to 2 cups. You also need a little bit of water if you're doing a 10-pound fish. Put about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. You can also add some powdered hot mustard to this. Makes it really zesty. About a tablespoon of Louisiana hot sauce is sufficient. You can add more if you like it more spicy. Then of course mix up until all is dissolved. This is very important. Usually a wire whip is necessary, or one of those small hand blenders. And finally a cup of water to cut it down just a tad and to give us more volume. And as I said, if you desire to use salt, use plain table salt, no iodine. Use about a tablespoon to start. Here's those 2 gorgeous fillets. Section to the size you desire. I usually make it about 3/4 of a pound each section. You can actually do strips as well. A lot of people like to smoke salmon strips. This is a very nice size chunk for smoking. Beautiful salmon. The important thing is to cover the entire fillet when you're smoking, when you're soaking it. I generally place a little bit in the bowl to start with, and then just stack as many as I can in each container. I try to gauge it so I can use 1 container for the whole process. That way you don't have much of a mess. Backed in, you'll leave this in the same position the entire time. Some people marinate this smoked recipe for 8 hours or more. I generally use 4 to 6 hours. Now just cover the container and place in the refrigerator for 4 to 6 hours. To give the salmon the smoked flavor, there are many different types of chips available. My favorite is hickory or alder chips. You can purchase these things in little bags at just about any grocery store. While the salmon is soaking in the brine, I generally soak the wood chips for the same amount of time. This makes the chips smoke without burning up rapidly. I use an electric smoker, which is becoming quite popular. You don't have to keep changing the heating source. So we'll go through that procedure. Well, we're ready to go. I've poured the water off these chips. They're nice and soaked. Of course, you could break them, they'd still be dry in the center, but the water gives them a lot more lifetime. Heavy-duty foil for this, and place a line of wood chips on the foil. You can break them up into smaller pieces if you wish. I use enough so I can roll it up and it'll be a nice heavy encasement around the wood chips. Now, this roll of wood chips is going to be placed directly on the heating elements. So you want to make sure that the foil won't burn through, and leave them open on the ends. Don't totally close the ends. This is where the smoke comes out. I generally make 2 of these rolls. That's enough to do a good about 10 pounds of salmon. You'll see the benefit to this method in a little while, as you can actually smoke a salmon using a lot less wood chips with this manner. Now we have 2 nice tight hickory smoking rolls. Here's the electric smoker. Single heating element. Just place the roll, bend them slightly to fit the contour of the smoker. You don't really need to put both of these on at the same time, I found. It lasts longer if you just do one at a time. But place them so that part of them at least is touching the elements, and this is the part that will start smoldering. There are many types of smokers. A lot of people make their own out of old refrigerators or encasements, metal cases, but the principal operation is basically the same. I like this one because it's round and you can get a lot of fillets on the grill. It also has a pan to catch the juices before it hits the element. Now we'll put the cover on, plug the unit in, and allow it to start smoking before we actually put the fillets on. This part should actually be done about a half an hour prior to starting your smoker. Take your fillets out of the brine, rinse off slightly just to get some of the juices off. Then place them on a grill. You're going to be letting these dry to develop a glaze on the top. This takes about a half an hour usually. Once you have them on the rack drying, or preparing to dry, do the paper towel trick again. Just pat gently just to get the majority of the moisture off the exposed surface. Now these fillets will stay here for about a half an hour to an hour until a slight glaze develops on the meat. Now about 20 minutes after starting the smoker, you can see we're getting some really nice smoke. We're ready to put the fillets in now. It's a good idea to give the grill a good shot of vegetable oil. This will at least help keep the skin from sticking. And of course place the fillets on as evenly as you can. Try to get them located on the grill so that the majority of the juices will go into the pan below. This will prevent a burning smell and a burning taste on the fillets. This is just about the right amount of fish for this. We could get one more section on. You can see that smoke coming up already. Electric smokers have a tendency to get a little too hot for smoking. So what I do is I'll allow it to smoke for half an hour and then unplug it for 15 minutes and keep doing that kind of a cycle. best, if you're clever, to install a thermostat in these smokers. Well, approximately 2.5, 3 hours later, we have some beautiful smoked salmon fillets. Now, since I didn't use salt, I just used the salt from the soy sauce for flavoring, you can actually make a meal out of this right now. Beautiful stuff, isn't it? It tastes really, really good too. Let's take a look at the texture. There's the skin. Notice how juicy. This is called a soft smoke. It's nice and moist inside. For a drier smoke fish, you can smoke it for a lot longer using lower temperatures. That's really good. The cook has a real advantage when you're doing this stuff. Now, if you want to, you can take this skin off right now. It would peel off very, very easily. What I do at this point is I'll allow the fillets to dry or actually just leave it out for about an hour to cool off and to develop the glaze, and then I'll vacuum pack it with one of the Food Saver vacuum packers. This seems to work extremely well. You can vacuum pack it and freeze it, and I've kept it over a year and still had excellent smoked fish a year later. Now, I always, as a tradition, eat part of the tail section of the fish, just to sort of christen it. Well, that's about it for this edition of Savory Salmon. I hope you learned a few good techniques. Thanks for your attention, and above all, good cooking.